Hey everyone, bringing you late but great Battle Roads coverage, and with me is the lovely Mark Oliver. What do we have here today, Mark?
Hey Adam, this is battle action from the Sherwood, Arkansas Battle Roads back right before Nationals, and this is our top two. On the left-hand side, we have the Tyler Typhlosion, Ty Smith from Oklahoma, and on the right side, we have Josh Squeaky Marking from Tennessee.
And the viewers should be pretty familiar with Ty. I did a lot of coverage of his winning Arkansas States. I think I got his top 16, 8, 4, and part of top 2. So is he using a starter deck mat?
I want to talk about these playmats for a second. Ty Smith is using a laminated Meganium starter deck playmat. It says it was the very first playmat he ever got. And of course, Squeaky's playmat is pretty sweet too if you're a fan of Shaman and Celebi. On the left-hand side, Ty is playing a what I would call a speed Darkrai version, Darkrai Smeargle. And on the right-hand side, it is Josh with your everyday Zeal.
All right, so Ty's starting off with Mewtwo. Do you know what his Mewtwo count is like?
I believe his Mewtwo count is 2 in that deck.
Okay, so that's going to be rough for him. Just trying to Mewtwo War and stuff like that, starting with the Mewtwo, that's definitely not a good sign.
Of course, Josh gets the starts. Ty was the XO coming into this event here in Sherwood, and of course, at the time, Ty is on the cusp of a Worlds invite right before Nationals, and a very key Battle Roads. If you ask Ty, it's probably the most important Battle Roads of the season since it was do or die.
Yeah, but thankfully Ty ends up making it to Worlds this year, so hopefully we don't spoil anything here.
We'll get to that later on, but of course Josh has a pretty decent turn one. He's gonna get a nice Mewtwo Smeargle set up. Ty with the catcher to bring up the Tynamo, and hopefully trying to get a Tynamo donk. If you get rid of the Tynamo on the field, if you get rid of those little minnows early, really helps your cause.
Yeah, and the other thing he does is if he's gonna attach the DCE though, the thing he runs the risk of is if his opponent also has the DCE, then he can just donk him. But he does get the Darkrai and Smeargle down, but it's kind of risky.
So here comes Ty, starting to get set up just a bit. He's going to retreat for free with Darkrai's Dark Cloak, get the portrait for nothing, and shows that Josh has 2 catchers, and he's going to be able to bring up that Mewtwo most likely. He'll get a portrait out as well. Nothing going here in game 1, and you already retreated. Catcher up the Darkrai, and he'll have to end his turn.
We do see an interesting development though that Squeaky discarded a fighting energy to retreat, which means he's running Terrakion, which is a really big change in what that deck does.
So Ty got the random receiver going. We'll see some supporter action going here in game 1. Ty gets himself a new hand here. Of course, Josh down just 1 card over there. Just a Pokemon catcher, as we know. And Ty really has to get that Darkrai out of the active to get things going here.
Yeah, that's going to be key. But on the other, he wants to be able to Dark Patch to it. But other than that, you know, it's kind of a stalemate is really where we're sitting.
Ty does get a switch off of the Juniper, and that'll definitely help get him away. Maybe out to a Mewtwo if he chooses to do so. Maybe not the best move here. It's kind of a tough move, but of course, bringing the Dynamo back up. Maybe back to strategy.
Wow.
Remove the Eels. Remove any possibility of the Eels.
Yeah, I think that's a good play, taking the first prize in this game. Zeals relies a lot less on EX attackers than Ty's deck, so you know you're going to be able to probably take out multiple non-EXs to even your prize count, and then just be able to take basically perfect prizes where you knock out EXs for 2 and take your last 2 prize cards at the same time.
And you can see it was a great play because off the Juniper, Squeaky gets himself an Electric, which is now a dead card because of Ty's aggressive Mewtwo.
The other problem, though, is that he hit the DCE, which means that if he can retreat, could knock out Mewtwo. However,
Ty's going to get the catcher, and we're going to see the Mewtwo War start in Ty's favor. And just like that, it's going to be a quick 3 prizes for Ty, and Squeaky's caught off guard with a lone Smeargle.
Yeah, that was a bad DCE drop. I thought he was going to be able to retreat. I thought he might have had bridge down or something like that. You have no business dropping that DC on that Mewtwo if you don't have bridge down. But, you know, people make misplays. It happens. And that's going to be a rough one to come back from.
Squeaky's going to get an N off of his random receiver, and it may bring him back into the game here. It's always nice to And he does not play it here. Interesting. Not going to bring the Darkrai player down to 3. Instead, just punt for 6. So I guess he doesn't think that Ty has anything in his hand off the last turn. And he was going to get 6 cards either way. I personally would have went with the N.
I would have went with the N for sure. You know, Ty Junipered last turn, so you should assume your opponent has a supporter when they Juniper. They're getting 7 cards. You don't see him play a supporter because they've already played one, but there's a good chance there's one there.
So he's going to get himself some more basics, so he won't get benched out this next turn. He's got a Zekrom and a Dynamo. But still the Smeargle active, and you can start loading up something on the bench, but you have to imagine Ty's going to take another prize next turn.
Yeah, he has Junk Arm, so he could either Junk Arm for a catcher or a random receiver. We see he top decks the N, which is not really the card you want to see right now, just because it'll only give you 3 cards, but it's better than not having a supporter, I suppose.
So Ty has a little thinking to do. He also has a couple Ultra Balls in his hand, which he may go to here. He's going to Junk Arm first, I believe. Think it over.
The Junk Arm would take him down to 2 prizes, which is taking perfect prizes, like we said, which could be good. And he's also got this Shaman, which is potentially, really good, especially because he's going to be able to free retreat, and then he's going to be able to Night Spear if he wants.
He's going to get that Night Spear and probably drop the 30 on the Dynamo and just really continue. I mean, just like this, Ty's going to be taking 4 prizes on really, just like 3 turns of attacking.
What was that card Ty just played?
That's an old school Super Scoop Up from Neo Genesis. Ty's a fan of the old cards, and it does look pretty sweet with that old school Magnemite.
I didn't recognize that one, but that Night Spear is huge. It's going to put so much pressure on your opponent. He has the Special Dark too, so he's got that knockout on that Zekrom next turn. Oof, this one's going quick.
It is going pretty quick. Of course, Squeaky is finally going to get an electric out, and just taking a look at the prize count, a little lopsided here in game 1. Ty has taken 4. Squeaky has yet to take his first.
Yeah, and he's got nothing to Dynamotor to on the bench right now, which is another big hindrance for him.
So the energy on Zekrom for the Outrage here, he can get himself a decent 30 with the Eviolite, but really not going to be much, as Darkrai can get a Night Spear KO on Zekrom this turn, bring up an Eel, which is really no defense here. At this point, since it's a top cut game, I would call it scoopable at this point.
Yeah, I would definitely scoop at this point. You want to save time. You're going to have to play 2 full games with Eels, which, if it's with Terrakion, can be a slower deck, and not having to rush is really key if you really want to play at your best and, minimize misplays. Ty won't have to worry as much about time. He's more comfortable at this point. He wants the game to keep going, so this is really all in Ty's favor. This game's even still going.
And I feel like one thing to point out, even starting the Mewtwo, he really got himself out of that situation and really didn't lose much speed on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of Darkrai, though. It's just got so much versatility. You can pretty much get away with whatever. But this could be really interesting if he has the Fighting, the Dynamotor, and the Switch. We could see something pretty neat here in that.
He must. Yeah, he
Oh,
drops the base
so
set
makes,
switch.
So that makes this game, maybe that was just about the only thing he could have had that made this game not, worth playing still.
Well, of course, here we are saying that he should go ahead and scoop and go to game 2, but he's got some signs of life here in the end of the game. Still probably way too far to come back from, but he will remove the energies from the field.
That's going to be
and
key.
it's going to be pretty big. Of course, now with that punt, you have to hope that he didn't draw into a nice supporter that Smeargle can abuse.
So that Outrage actually turned out to be key because of the Eviolite.
So he's going to get a catcher and catcher up the electric again for the stall here. Chances are Squeaky may not have another switch close by. It would be a little bit lucky to have it there, but I guess it's not unheard of. Of course, Ty's going to show the camera what he has here. He's got a Super Scoop Up and the DCE.
The DCE is a really nice thing to have, but it's hard to figure out how you really use it. He could go for 40 on the Eel and just try and 2-shot it. He could try and put 80 on the Terrakion if he has the catcher, but I don't see the point in really wasting the catcher, to be honest.
No, I don't think there's any reason to do the catcher here. Of course, Squeaky actually does not have a supporter after that, which is actually pretty lucky. Ty's going to whiff the Super Scoop Up, and he's going to have to pass.
Yeah, it's an interesting development. The 40 would have been really nice. I think it probably would have actually pretty much closed up this game, but, it's a flippy card, and it's a really rough card. But that Eviolite on Terrakion could make somewhat of a difference. I do think we have a DCE in Squeaky's hand.
He
So
does.
if he had the plus power, he could take another prize.
He sure could, but he does not retaliate for 60. There's the bridge, and it's a decent out there for Ty, who's going to drop a Juniper here, looking for something here. Another super scoop up would be great.
He could, the catcher, if he has catcher, he has game, because I believe there's 30 damage on the eel, but he whiffed on catchers and junk arms. Not sure what his counts are for those. I think he's played a few of each, so not surprising that you whiff on the Juniper, but still unfortunate.
Another pass by Ty. That's 2 in a row, and Squeaky could take his third prize this turn.
I don't see why you don't at least try and X-ball the Eviolated Terrakion. You'd put 80 on it. You threatened to two-shot it. And you do have bridge up, so you can retreat.
Good point. I honestly don't. I mean, like, maybe he's just playing cautious, erring on the side of caution here. I mean, he is still up by 3 prizes.
Yeah.
And just really wanting to play it safe here. He could probably afford to lose the Smeargle, which he does.
Yeah.
So Retaliate will knock out the Smeargle. That is Squeaky's third straight prize, I believe. And Ty's going to top deck himself a Darkrai.
Okay, so
He's got, and I know he has at least 2 Dark Patch in his hand. There it is there. And
does he have another Shaman?
I don't think so. I know he plays Super Scoop Up. He's got a Tornado CX off of the Ultra Ball, put more Darks in the discard. And of course, that's Terrakion's worst enemy. Special Dark on the Darkrai. And just looking for a catcher.
That's game.
That's game. Catcher up the Electric. He can Night Spear for 90, take his final prize. And Ty Smith will go up 1-0 in the best of 3.
All right, guys, so make sure you rate, comment, like, subscribe, do your thing, and we'll be at you pretty soon with Game 2.